The Strait of Hormuz has long been described as the world's most critical energy artery, but that description is no longer sufficient. Today, it must be understood as a structural fault line in the global economy. Roughly 20% of the world's oil consumption, nearly 17 to 20 million barrels per day, passes through this narrow corridor, alongside 1/5 of the global LNG trade, primarily from Qatar. But what is unfolding is not just an energy disruption. It is a cascading systems shock, one that is ripping across interconnected supply chains with compounding force. To understand the magnitude of this moment, it must be placed with the broader historical sequence. This is not an isolated crisis. It is the fourth wave of systematic disruption in the global economy. The first wave was the global economic crisis 2007. The second wave was the COVID-era breakdown of supply chains, where lockdowns froze production and fractured logistics worldwide. This also included the post-pandemic demand surge, creating inflationary pressure as economies reopened faster than supply could adjust. The third wave emerged from the geopolitical conflicts like the Russian-Ukraine war that focused on war-driven fragmentation of energy and commodity flows. Now, this fourth wave is different. It is not about demand spikes or isolated disruptions. It is about the simultaneous breakdown of multiple interlinked supply chains triggered by a single geographic choke point. This is not conventional geopolitical crisis. It is a synchronized disruption of physical flows. By the fifth week of disruption around 35, multiple commodity chains began to fracture simultaneously. Crude oil shipments slow, LNG cargoes face rerouting delays, and downstream derivatives such as naphtha and methanol began to tighten. Aluminium smelters, highly energy dependent, start cutting output. Aviation fuel supply chains show early signs of stress. And beyond these visible sectors, less obvious but equally critical inputs like helium, essential for medical imaging and semiconductor manufacturing, and urea, vital for global agricultural edge towards supply thresholds. What makes this crisis structurally dangerous is not just scarcity, but sequencing. Supply chains do not collapse all at once, they unravel in layers. First comes price volatility, benchmarks spike, insurance premiums soar as underwriters reassess war risk exposure. But then comes the deeper, more insidious phase, physical unavailability. Tankers hesitate, ports slow down, inventories already lean due to just-in logistics began to erode. The system shifts from pricing stress to allocation stress. This is the point where conventional economic models began to fail, because this is not a demand-driven inflationary cycle. It is a supply-constrained shock. A barrel of oil delayed is not just a higher price, it is a refinery running below capacity. A delayed LNG shipment is not just an energy story, it is a power grid recalibrating output. A shortage of naphtha is not just petrochemicals, it is plastics, packaging, and industrial manufacturing grinding into inefficiency. Institutions like the International Energy Agency and the World Bank have repeatedly warned that choke points disruptions in Hormuz have outsized multiplier effects. During past tensions, such as the 2019 tanker incidents, insurance costs for vessels surged by over 300%. Today, the stakes are even higher. Global inventories are thinner, supply chains are tighter, and geopolitical fragmentation has reduced redundancy. And yet, one of the most persistent misconceptions remains that a ceasefire equals normalization. It does not. Even if hostilities stop tomorrow, the corridor does not simply reopen. There is a sequence, a recovery chain as complex as the disruption itself. Mine clearance operations must first ensure navigation safety. Insurance and reinsurance markets must regain confidence. Shipping fleets must reposition. Ports must decongest. Schedules must be rebuilt. Each stage introduces friction, delay, and uncertainty. Even under optimistic modeling, the median timeline for commercial normalization sits around 120 to 150 days, roughly midsummer. And that assumes minimal infrastructure damage. If liquefaction plants, exports terminals, or refining capacity have been hit, the timeline extends dramatically. Reconstruction of energy infrastructure is measured not in weeks, but in quarters, sometimes years. This is where the crisis transitions from logistical to structural, because prolonged disruption does not just delay supply, it reshapes it. Buyers began diversifying routes, strategic reverses are drawn down, long-term contracts are renegotiated, Supply corridors like pipelines through Saudi Arabia or the UAE's Fujairah bypass gain importance but lack the capacity to fully offset Hormuz flows. And then comes the second order impact. Semiconductor supply chains, already fragile, face helium shortages. Agricultural output feels pressure from rising fertilizer costs. Aviation faces fuel constraints. Manufacturing slows as intermediate goods become inconsistent. The shocks propagate not linearly, but exponentially. This is why viewing the Strait of Hormuz crisis purely through the oil prices is analytically insufficient. Prices are the signals, but availability is reality. And when availability becomes uncertain, the system does not become expensive, it becomes unstable. In the end, the Strait of Hormuz is not just a passage of water, it is a pressure point of globalization itself. And what we are witnessing is not just a disruption, but a stress test of how resilient or fragile the modern interconnected economy truly is.